Welcome to Hannity. Tensions rise between the U.S. and Israel after the Obama administration betrays America's closest ally in the Middle East. I'm Judge Janine Pirro, in for Sean tonight. The fallout continues after the Obama administration failed to veto a United Nations resolution that declares Israeli settlements in East Jerusalem and the West Bank a, quote, flagrant violation of international law. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu continues to condemn the Obama administration for the unprecedented move. Take a look.
American administrations and Israeli governments have disagreed about settlements, but we agreed that the Security Council was not the place to resolve this issue. We knew that going there would make negotiations harder and drive peace further away. And as I told John Kerry on Thursday, friends don't take friends to the Security Council. I'm encouraged by the statements of our friends in the United States, Republicans and Democrats alike. They understand how reckless and destructive this UN resolution was. They understand that the Western Wall isn't occupied territory.
President-elect Donald Trump is throwing his support behind Israel and tweeted out, quote, "The United Nations has such great potential, but right now it is just a club for people to get together, talk, and have a good time. So sad." Joining us now with a reaction is the author of Ally, Deputy Minister for Diplomacy in Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's office, Ambassador Michael Oren. All right, hello, Ambassador. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Can you tell us why Israel was so deeply offended by this resolution?
Good to be with you, Judge. We were hurt. We were outraged by this appalling resolution. Understand, this resolution labels over 500,000 of our citizens criminals, violators of international law. As the Prime Minister Netanyahu said, it takes our holiest places, the Western Wall, and labels them illegally occupied territory. The resolution exposes us to sanctions and boycotts, as Palestinians and others will try to use this resolution as a basis for suing us in international criminal courts around the world. It's a greater threat than the missiles fired at us, because we can believe that. It's a terrible, terrible move. And it sends a horrible message to the world about what America cares about, what the UN cares about. About 2 hours from where I'm sitting and talking to you here, Judge, is Syria, where over 400,000 people have been butchered. 5 hours east of here is Iraq, where tens of thousands of people have been killed in a civil war. 3 hours south of here is the Sinai, where there's a civil war against ISIS. An hour and a half of here is Hamas. And all of these millions of people are calling out to America and the UN, help us. And what does America and the UN do? They beat up on the only democracy in the Middle East.
All right, Ambassador.
Think about what America's allies think tonight.
I want to look forward, Ambassador, but for a moment I want to look back. In 2011 or 2012, Susan Rice vetoed on behalf of the United States in the UN the same resolution. What has happened in 4 years, and did you have any notice that this was coming?
Well, I was there when Susan Rice gave that speech. I was listening to it very, very carefully, and she listed all the reasons why the United States, this administration, was against settlement, but they would never let the UN interfere and try to impose a solution, that there was only one solution, and that arose from direct negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians. And by abstaining on this resolution, the Obama administration has basically backtracked and negated its own long-standing position, and a long-standing position of the United States going back to 1967, that there is no alternative to direct talks between Israelis and Arabs. Now, we knew this was going to happen. In the Knesset, where I serve as a member of Israel's parliament, we have been discussing the dangers that were looming in the 3-month window between the American elections and the inauguration of the next president. And President Obama, since the first day in office in 2009, has publicly condemned Israel, our policy in Judea and Samaria, in the West Bank, and in Jerusalem, in our capital. And he was never going to desist from that. He was going to keep on coming at us on that. And we assumed that this window would be a very dangerous time for us.
And it is. But, Ambassador, what can you do about this now? And what can you expect from the Trump administration going forward?
Well, you know about the Iron Dome, Judge.
Yes.
It's an advanced anti-ballistic system that has protected Israel's skies for years now, and it takes down enemy missiles coming at us. We need a diplomatic and a legal Iron Dome, where the United States says to those entities and countries that want to do us harm, that want to boycott us, that want to sanction us, if you touch the state of Israel, you're going to have to come to us, because we're going to protect Israel. We're going to protect Israel by making anybody who hurts Israel pay for it diplomatically, pay for it financially. And frankly, if the incoming Trump administration would move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, that would send a very powerful message that the United States has no intention of conforming with this appalling resolution.
And with respect to those countries, and I want to make one thing clear, had the United States vetoed that in the Security Council, it would not have passed. But the signal has been made. Can America undo the resolution? No, based on a new president.
America can't undo the resolution. It cannot, but it can make those who try to apply the resolution, it can make them pay for it. America has a lot of tools in its hands, Judge. 20% of the UN's budget comes from the United States, and without it, the United Nations would be in very rough shape.
And very quickly, you have high hopes for President Trump and the relationship with Israel?
We do have high hopes. We have high hopes always with the United States of America. At the end of the day, we have no alternative to America as our ultimate ally, and the United States has no alternative to Israel as its ultimate ally. There's no other country in this region which is technologically and military proficient, and no other country which is unreservedly pro-American. No one's burning American flags in the streets of Tel Aviv from where I'm talking to you from.
All right. Ambassador Michael Oren, thank you so much for joining us this evening.